Hi, I'm Tammy Brackett. I'm presenting my abstract on my research project, which is on gamification in higher education. The term gamification was coined by Nick Pelling in 2002, and it refers to the application of fun characteristics of games to something that's not a game. So there are many aspects of our everyday life that are now being gamified. For instance, going places, drinking beer, engaging employees, and learning a second language. So we've been receiving frequent flyer miles from airlines for years, and that's essentially a form of gamification of our travel. Foursquare gives us points. We can check in and become mayors of places that we visit often. Untapped is becoming popular with the new microbreweries and local beers that are being developed. And that's a way of keeping track of how many of those you've tried. Employee engagement is being gamified through Badgeville. And you can learn a language now with Duolingo. Gamification is increasing in popularity from marketing to higher education. It's the latter that we're interested in here, and specifically how gamification is being utilized by higher education. What works, what doesn't. Essentially, what we're looking for are some best practices, or at least a place to start building some best practices. In the US alone, there are 5 million people playing games for about 40 hours a week. And in short, video and computer games are wildly popular. So educators are wishing to harness some of the video games' power over students, and they're hoping to use it to teach. Admissions staff, they wish to harness that power and get students to apply or help them through the application process. Student affairs wishes to get students involved in on-campus activities. And so my question is, how might they be able to do that through gamification? What I found are some basics that need to be remembered. It's important not to replace motivation with external rewards, because what happens is that motivation drops off after time. So, for instance, once you start giving someone a reward, you have to keep giving them a reward forever. And this is what I found in some of the research out there, is that it's important to focus on the play rather than the external reward that comes from the game. What they say is that if you remove the rewards, then later on you're worse off than when you first started. So it's important to work with someone with game design experience, not just someone who can make a game or someone who knows the content that needs to be presented in the game, but someone who knows more about games than levels and points. So a true game designer. Scott Nicholson tells us that the game needs to be a rich, user-centered experience with multiple hooks. This is a complicated animal, gamification. You'll find many people saying that it's easy and you just apply the tools. That's not necessarily the case. There seems to be little research on the effects of gamifying course content on student learning outcomes in higher education. However, SimCity EDU, designed for 6th to 8th graders, has an embedded evaluation system, as they call it. Most of the information available on the value of gamification seems to be based on what the cool new tools are that can be used, and not covering so much what it might be used to accomplish in terms of student learning objectives. Higher Engagement rates have been claimed in some of the publicity of the SimCity EDU. And this is the type of information that needs to be tracked over time to prove the usefulness of the software. Which brings me to the obstacles of gamification. The biggest obstacle of gamification is that we're using the word game. Games are attacked because they're games, not because of the content. Take on a new title for games, and it could be a completely different experience. For instance, calling a comic book a graphic novel can get a different reaction from the audience. The medium of games needs to be embraced as being valuable. Instead of thinking of them as games, they could be thought of in terms of interactive experiences. Games need to be taken seriously for them to be worth anything, and if we think of them more as a designed experience that is fun, I think we will have a better time of embracing gamification in higher education. These are a few of the key resources for people who are interested in gaining some information, some starter information really on gamification. Obviously, the Chronicle of Higher Education has the Prof Hacker blog, and Scott Nicholson, who I mentioned once or twice, has a great introduction to meaningful gamification that is available on YouTube, so you can search for that title there. Thank you.